Welcome to an extended portion of the Coach Up podcast. I'm super excited to have Ray Allen with me here today from Pepper Shock Media, and we are talking about video and advertising for LinkedIn. Ray, welcome. Please tell people who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you so much for having me. So Ray Allen, Pepper Shock Media, and also I am a podcaster and an adjunct marketing professor at Boise State. Go Broncos! um, and have been doing Pepper Shock Media along with my husband for it'll be 21 years in October of 2024, depending on when you're listening to this or watching this, and have been kind of on the cusp and cutting edge and bleeding edge of all things technology and now of course AI and all the things. And yeah, LinkedIn is definitely something to be on, and utilizing video as a strategy in your either personal branding and or branding for your company.
So we're going to dive right in with the video because we've been talking a lot on this series that I'm doing on YouTube to kick
Yeah,
off the YouTube channel for the Connection Collaborator this September. And so thank you for being part of my 30 videos in 30 days
yeah,
kickoff.
yeah.
We've been talking a lot about LinkedIn because LinkedIn is, for you all as coaches, it is a place to build, right? There's a higher median income on LinkedIn. More people on LinkedIn are familiar with coaches from a business standpoint.
Mhm.
I say more, but I think there's the expectation that they're there. They're on LinkedIn. I mean, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, but LinkedIn is a place to grow. And so we want to talk about video. We're talking about video today because
Mhm.
Ray, video is fairly new to LinkedIn as far
Mhm.
as LinkedIn promoting and wanting video and sharing more people who are doing video on LinkedIn. And this is an area of expertise for you. So talk to me about one, any power you've seen or the effect you've seen of video on LinkedIn as LinkedIn moves in that space and how people can grow using it.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things to consider when doing video on LinkedIn. And first of all, you have to check to see if LinkedIn has approved you as a content creator. And there's really not an application process. It's just that they've selected those that they thought would be good at being content creators on LinkedIn to be able to provide videos. And then it's also understanding the tools and technology in order to connect to be able to stream live video on LinkedIn. And if you don't have that, you can still actually be able to post media directly into LinkedIn. And I always, always, always recommend that you post videos natively inside of LinkedIn, not try to share a YouTube video, even though we're on YouTube right now. And the reason for that is every proprietary software, every platform wants you to stay within their platform. I don't know if you've noticed, if you've ever clicked a link and it says, "You're leaving LinkedIn. Don't leave us. Please don't leave us. We don't want you to go away from our platform. We want you to stay and make sure that our advertisers are getting, their sponsored messages to you." And so we always recommend that we post right inside the native platform, whether it is LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or any of those, but especially LinkedIn because they want you to stay in LinkedIn. And they also have places where you can do the LinkedIn news articles inside of LinkedIn. And of course, having links inside those can kind of help. Well, actually, it does sort of suppress what LinkedIn's going to serve because they don't want you going away from their platform. And so, what we always do is address people later in the comments and say, check the comments for the link, or direct message me for the link of where you want to go. And it does a couple things. One, it engages the people that want to learn more. And then who's going to specifically direct message you, or will ask for it in the comments if they want a link or those types of things. And then now LinkedIn sees that as an engagement, and so they're like, "Oh, we should serve this up some more because people are engaging with it, and they want to, be able to show that." Things that we definitely want to do is tag other businesses or other brands or other people that you can tag inside of the platform, inside of where you're doing your videos, because then more eyeballs are going to see it. And that's the important part, is getting more of the right kind of eyeballs to see your videos that you're producing.
Good to know that it's better to do the video inside of LinkedIn
Hmm.
versus importing in. Because I've seen some of the so Instagram real like videos a little more on LinkedIn. And I was wondering, are people importing from IG and putting them on, or are they creating them in LinkedIn? But it's better to create them in LinkedIn.
It is just because they want the native original, the original post to be inside of their own platform. I mean, you can obviously still do that where you can, share your YouTube video or share your Instagram reel, or your Be Real is now another, another one that you can do. But if you can, I mean, if you had the choice and you could spend the time in figuring out how to do the LinkedIn video inside the native platform, you're going to get more eyeballs on it for sure.
All right, Ray. So tell us let's start with some of the don'ts in creating video
Yeah.
for LinkedIn. What are some things we don't need to do and need to be aware of?
Sure. Well, and I always say that LinkedIn is more of like, when you're going to an office setting and, you dress nicely, maybe your Sunday best on on the weekdays, and then it's kind of like casual jeans Friday. That's more like Facebook and all the other places. But in LinkedIn, it is your professional best forward because people are going to look at you. They're going to look at LinkedIn as kind of a place to go to understand who you are, what you've done professionally. And so I always encourage people to keep it professional on LinkedIn. I mean, occasionally people will, have personal posts, or they'll say something like, this is a personal post here. Pardon the personal post, but I wanted to share something, amazing that happened, but at the same time, thinking about, okay, this is where potentially I could have my next new client or my next new job. All of the employers are going to be looking at this. Is it something that you would want your grandma to see and that you could be proud of? Or are you posting content that may not necessarily be 100% work appropriate? And it's interesting because political seasons now, and a lot of our country is polarized in one way or the other. And I think that sometimes if you can keep some of those things off of LinkedIn because you want to make sure your first impression is not going to put somebody out because or put somebody off because of something that you've posted that may or may not be intentional, or it could be unintentionally, perceived as something that you may not want to have perceived that way. So I try to say, keep the politics, the religion, and the gross health stories off of LinkedIn. No one wants that. Unless that's your arena, like if your job is to be a political analyst, then of course, by all means, then that's your job. But some of those things can be detrimental to you in the long run. And what goes on social media stays on social media, right? What happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas. It stays on Facebook, it stays on all these places. So just be aware of who your audience is and who your intended audience is, and maybe even your unintended audience of people that are connecting with you that could be your potential next big job or employer or gig that you're working on, So keep in mind, what is that professional look and feel that I want my brand, my personal brand, and my company brand to be associated with?
When it comes to some of the technicals of what to do in creating a
Hmm.
video, what are some recommendations that you would give us to make sure we're producing good video to engage people, and to make sure people want to continue to watch the video, whether it's from a quality or a
Right.
recording or a length standpoint for LinkedIn?
Well, I would definitely say get a decent microphone and lighting.
Okay.
There's all these things that you can do to help, increase the production quality of what you're producing. The other thing that if you have the option or opportunity is to use subtitles, because a lot of times people don't either A, turn the audio up, or B, they may have some sort of inability to actually hear what is being said because of, they're just hard of hearing, right? And so subtitles are always helpful. If you do have any kinds of graphics or words on screen, keep in mind that you need to keep it responsive to the platform that is being served on. So if it's a tiny little mobile device on a tiny little screen, you want to make sure that it's legible and that people can see and hear clearly what it is that you're trying to say. And then the other thing on the flip side, if it's going to be on a ginormous, 5K screen, just make sure that the quality is there that you want to portray. And you can make adjustments, whether it's going to be standard definition or high definition, or served up in 1080 or 720. That's the rate at which it's being served. And the lower the quality, the lower the visual aspect or aesthetic will be, right? So you want to think about who you're wanting to serve, how you want to have your video portrayed, and the settings that you can technically adjust, like we just got to do today. We adjusted the appearance of our video. We looked at the lighting. We looked at all the things. So play around with the tools and see what you can use depending on what it is that you're using. I mean, we've used lots of different types of programs, including, here's Zoom, but also Riverside.fm is a tool that we've used and love, which is really nice because it actually, when you're trying to record over internet, it actually records it locally and then uploads it. So then even if there is a hiccup in the internet, which does happen, it's not going to have a hiccup in your recording, which is really cool. So yeah, lots of tools to use, lots of ways to stream, kind of third-party streaming apps. There's all kinds out there that people have come up with. But and even if you're not technical, the type to understand how to do all of these things, there's lots of YouTube videos or TikTok videos that tell you how to do it, and or just reach out to us and we can help. We've done that, especially during the pandemic. A lot of people had no clue about how to do any kind of video recording, and so we gave them lots of good advice and things to think about. I mean, having your computer eye level, right? That's definitely something to think about, like where in your computer. So I always put it up on a little pedestal, or even if you just have books to put it on, right? People read books still, right?
We do.
I mean,
Yeah.
and then of course lighting and trying to adjust the lighting. I was playing around and adjusting with the lighting because I have glasses, right? And so thinking about if you have the opportunity to wear contacts versus eyeglasses, sadly I can't wear contacts because I just cry them out, but I wear glasses. And so adjusting where the light is going, how it's being portrayed, all of those things are really helpful to make sure that people are paying attention to you and what you have to say, not what's going around all around you in your background and all of the technical things that could potentially go wrong, right? We want to
Mm.
have people listen to you.
Oh, that's a good point to make sure your background is not distracting from you. To make sure your
Exactly.
background is actually a reflection that puts the attention toward you. I don't know that I'd ever thought about it that way before.
Yeah.
And so thank you for that
Yeah.
new way of looking at creating a background. Um, I do have this question as you're talking about put your screen eye level so that you're looking eye level. Um,
Hmm.
when you have a camera and you have a screen and you're looking at the, do you recommend looking at the camera so your eye is to the camera, or do you
Hmm.
recommend
Hmm.
looking at the screen if you're talking to somebody? So we're having this
Yeah.
conversation. Is it better for me to look at the screen where I can see you, which may be away from the camera, or to look at the camera when I'm talking?
So that's a really good question. One thing that I really like to do is make sure that the camera and the screen are somewhat close together. So I put you on top of my screen right now, and I'm looking at my camera. So it looks like I'm looking right at you rather than looking off to the side where people, sometimes they have two monitors and they look over here and I'm like, hey, hi, I'm over here. So looking at your beautiful face and then the camera right above it. So it makes it look like I'm actually looking straight into your eyeballs as opposed to off screen.
Hmm.
There's like these weird studies in I can't don't quote me on who did it because I can't it was a long a while ago that I read it, but there's something to be said about when people look at you in the eyes and it's a screen, right? That there's it's more trustworthy. It's more, I mean, just like a normal setting, right? When you're gonna shake somebody's hand, you want to look at them in the eyeballs because then they can recognize your face and recognize who you are and remember your name better than if you just look away from them when you're talking to them, right? So same thing in a remote scenario, look at the screen, but also look at the camera so that people think that you're a trustworthy person and not just, shifty-eyed and like looking over different places.
Right. I love it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so now, Ray, we know the video, got a high level view of what to pay attention to, what not to do, what to do for video. And I
Mhm,
want to roll it into advertising and advertising in itself on LinkedIn, but also I would imagine we're going to use video in
mhm,
some of our advertising. So first, let's talk about advertising on LinkedIn. I don't know anything about LinkedIn advertising. I've heard a few snippets that it's
mhm,
not as expensive to advertise on LinkedIn, but I also don't feel as though I see a ton of advertising on LinkedIn, which I guess would be a good thing. Or maybe I'm
mhm,
just missing it because then if you want to advertise on LinkedIn, there's more space. But let's start with the introduction to advertising on LinkedIn. Why would you recommend that people do it? And
mhm.
what benefit do you see from them doing advertising on LinkedIn versus maybe the other platforms like LinkedIn or I'm sorry, like Facebook or
Mhm.
Instagram?
So the beautiful thing from a marketer's perspective is that you have put all of this wonderful information on your profile so that it makes it really easy for me to target you specifically based on the interests, based on the types of titles that you have had in your career or what kind of title you have now. And so I can specifically niche down my message and my specific ad that I want to or promote a post or my in mail, because you can also have a certain amount of in mails messages that you send to those very specific titled targeting. So if you are a business coach and I want to specifically target a message to you, I can actually only serve messages up to people who have business coach in their title on their LinkedIn page. So there's lots of wonderful things and filters that we can filter in and out. Of course, the more you filter, the more you're going to pay, but the better quality you're going to serve because you're getting the right message in front of the right person. You're reaching that person. And then, of course, frequency, right? Sometimes we need to have the same message in front of somebody multiple times before they even recognize that they've even seen or heard the brand that you're trying to promote, right? And so the idea here is just getting the right mix of frequency with the right reach and niching down to the right types of people that you can specifically target based on their titles, geographic region, because we all put where we're living and where we're from, and we all put all of this wonderful information. And if we're active, LinkedIn notices how active you are on LinkedIn and when you've posted on LinkedIn or not, the connections, right? You can do targeting based on, third connections, second connections, first connections of specific brands or people. You can do, regions, and you can target companies that have specific amount of employees, 50 employees or more. You can do all kinds of things that on LinkedIn, unlike some of the other platforms, I mean, there's interests and there's definitely filters and things like that. But this title targeting is specific to LinkedIn for sure, because not everybody puts their title of their job on Facebook, for example, or on Instagram, right? But LinkedIn, we can certainly narrow down. We can even send and serve up an ad to a specific company or person who works for a specific company in a specific region. Like we can serve up an ad and get it narrowed down so much so that we are just targeting only one company, within a specific time frame, within a specific geographic region, who are maybe their C C-level executives or HR benefit people, people who would, you know, hire coaches for businesses, right? And so we get really, really good at honing in on that, and we test the messaging. So generally we'll do an A/B test and do multiple iterations with the type of message that we're serving, the you know, the imagery that we want to use or not. Sometimes they're just text only, or if we want images and video. If we want to incorporate an emotion or movement to it, we can. And we can track all of that data and understand what's happening in real time, and then be able to say, okay, you know what, the A/B test, the results were that the A ad ran better for this target audience that we did. The B ad did not. So we're going to drop off the B ad and we're going to A/B test the A ad again and do iterations until we're just getting really dialed in. And then we spend more money. Now, LinkedIn, there is, whether it's more cost effective or not is kind of relative, because you can very specifically get to who you want to get to and then have the reach and frequency, but you might be spending more because you are really, really narrowing and niching down on who you want to get to. Case in point, right now we are running some title targeting ads for therapists for women who have had mastectomies, or maybe some lymphedema in their arms, where they need to wear compression garments. So one of our clients is RHEA. They wear compression garments that go underneath, and where, like, there's specific places for you know, drainage and everything to go, and this compression helps with all of the things that they're going through. And so we want to specifically target the therapists who help fit these garments, these compression garments, specifically to these women, and some men, but women predominantly, who would go through something of this nature. So the therapists are the ones we want to get to. And of course, the end users we do as well, because they're the ones who are going to ultimately purchase the undergarments. But if we can specifically narrow down on the therapists, the fitters, even some of the physicians and surgeons, and the people who can then make recommendations for this, you know, specialized compression garment that was actually created by another therapist, which is wonderful, and the founder of the company, they worked together to make sure that it's exactly what it needs to be. So we have really good educational information. We have videos that we can share with them. We have webinars that they can sign up and get continuing education. So there's lots of good things that are getting great information to them, that is relevant to them, that's helpful to them. We're not just kind of trying to, you know, shove it down their you know, their face and say bye bye bye. It's more about giving them the tools and education that they need in order to then confidently recommend this Wear Ease product, right? The compression, you know, undergarments and camisoles and things like that. So from my perspective, when coaching our clients and thinking about all of the different types of people that we want to reach, who our ideal client, our soulmate customer really is, who is it that's going to buy from you the most, and who's your primary, secondary, tertiary targets that you could then test and iterate and see what those types of conversions are going to happen. And that's the process we're going through right now with that particular client and brand. But we've done lots and lots and lots of title targeting and in-mail. And if you've got the premium account to LinkedIn versus just the general, all of those things can really elevate your online LinkedIn online presence, and how you can really connect with the people that you want to do business with.
You said a lot of things that have me with a lot of questions, and I know we don't have a ton of time left, so I'm going to give
Yeah.
you some rapid fire questions. So I'm going to come at you
Okay.
quick.
Let's see what I can do.
First, you mentioned the testing, the A/B testing, and then you can
Mhm.
identify which one is testing better, and then you can iterate from there. And you mentioned the frequency that the ad would be in front of the person that you're targeting. So I guess my first question is, can you can you manage, or can you create a system with your advertising where you can set the number of times, or try to set the number of times, that your targeted audience is going to see your advertisement over a length of time?
Yeah, so I mean, again, that's kind of the budget part of it, right? The more you spend, the more you get, the more you can, get the frequency there, of course. But the idea is just the number of impressions that they're seeing, hearing, being able to get it absorbed in their subconscious mind that they've heard of this brand before or this person before, because we also do, personal branding, right? And coaches and speakers and authors, we've done a lot of those types of things where we want those people to get in front of them. So rapid response is, yes, you can have some control over how much and how many times somebody will see your ads based on the amount of budget that you would like to spend.
Okay, fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay, and so then my next question is, um, based on, have you done advertising on Facebook and Instagram as well?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So then for LinkedIn, from an analytical standpoint of what you're able to garner in comparison to those two, you already talked about how you can target more. And just so
Hmm.
you guys are clear, and Ray, correct me if I'm wrong, Ray is talking about using LinkedIn Navigator to narrow down. Yeah. Okay. My question then is from an analytical standpoint for LinkedIn advertisement, is it a different platform within LinkedIn that you use to create these advertisements? You're saying yes. Yes, what is
Yes.
that and how do people find it?
So the best, easiest, quickest answer to this is LinkedIn Help. You can really literally type in, LinkedIn advertising. And as agencies, we can manage multiple pages for all of our clients. As an individual, you can do it under your business account. And so that's really kind of the easiest way to get there is just go to LinkedIn in the help section and type in LinkedIn advertising, and it will walk you through a series, and you can look at all of their trainings that they have and lots of documentation that's there, and continuously. We've done so much now that we actually have a rep that we work with on a regular basis. So
Okay.
they keep us up to date on all the things.
Right. No, that's good. So you
Yeah.
have to do the advertising from, is it a business page or do I have to create a business account separate from a personal account?
So my recommendation would be to do a business page, whether it's just your personal brand or your, if you've got a brand that you want to, so like your coaching business, I would do it from the business side of things, because they do require that you have EIN, and you can obviously use your own. If you're just a sole proprietor, you can do all of those things, but they also want to verify and make sure that the billing is correct. And you can thank, kind of the political season for how much we need to make sure that everything that we're doing is legitimate, and they're cross-checking and referencing, which I actually kind of personally love that they do. I mean, sure, it's a little bit of a pain, but you definitely want to make sure that nobody else can market your own brand, right? You want to make sure that it's legitimate. So you do have a series of things that you need to do to validate your business, to make sure that when you are advertising, it's a legit, brand to advertise. So that is a little bit of some hoops to jump through in order to make that happen, but certainly for good purpose and reason. Yeah.
Absolutely. Last question. From
Yeah.
a success standpoint, when running advertisements, Ray, are you and your team looking at number of conversions from that advertisement? And if so, converting from what to what? Or
Mhm.
is it just
Mhm.
number of impressions?
So there's a number of different metrics that we look at. And yes, it is if we are converting, if it's a product that we're wanting to sell specifically, if we're connected to Shopify, we can look in where the ads are coming from and how we're getting those, and if people are purchasing and when they're purchasing, right? And kind of track the whole journey, if you will. But other things that we've done too, from an awareness standpoint or an educational standpoint, we have another client that's they do a lot of health and wellness, and so it's not necessarily, how many people are buying anything from them. It's more about have we changed the trajectory of what people think, or have we got them to do something or take a specific action that we want them to do, right? And so those are other kind of ways that we can look at it. And then, we can also monitor website traffic. Have we increased the amount of traffic to a specific landing page? Have we used a QR code? You'd be surprised how many people actually looked at LinkedIn on their desktop, and then if we have a QR code, they scan it with their phone. It's really interesting to
Yeah.
see. Sometimes we'll do QR codes on an ad, but only serve it up on a desktop, right? Because it doesn't make sense to have a QR code on your phone. It's just a waste of money because people are already on their phone and they're not going to scan a QR code, right?
Right.
So it's just really thinking about the different models and platforms and how you can be where you want to be in the right times and the right places when whoever it is that you want to either change their opinion, get them to buy something, do some sort of call to action, or do whatever, the outcome that you set up for is really what we're looking at. So it could be impressions, it could be educational, it could be a phone number that we want people to call. It could be, a specific link to a landing page, a QR code, lots of different ways to track what we're doing.
I know we have less than 60 seconds, but I'm going to ask one more question. I know I said that was
Okay.
the last one,
It's all good.
but this one I think will be a short one. So, Ray, can you tell those of you all listening, can you tell the listeners who needs to be running LinkedIn advertisements? Who is that ideal for?
I think professional business service providers, products that are useful in that kind of professional world, right? And people who want to make an impact in a different way, in a different platform than what you otherwise could in Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. It's just a different setting. Pinterest, I mean, there's crossover for sure. But LinkedIn has a slightly different professional modality than what maybe some of the others would.
Love it. Okay. You have given us a ton today. I'm so grateful, from making sure you know your lighting to setting up your camera and your computer to make sure there's eye level because of trust when it comes to creating
Yeah.
video. The professional part is so important. So glad you said that, because I see more people going casual on LinkedIn and they have great following and that type of thing. But I also still see the majority. It's the professional presentation. And I love that about LinkedIn. And then also just introducing us to the advertising portion of LinkedIn has been so helpful, because it's completely foreign to me, besides rarely in advertising. And so I will say this to you guys: if you don't see something a lot somewhere, it's coming usually. So jump on the bandwagon, right? So as Ray just shared, who it's beneficial to have
Mhm.
those advertisements. So Ray, please tell people where they can connect with you, how they can connect with you, because you've been so helpful. And I hope you guys have been paying attention. You can reach out to Ray for help.
Absolutely. I'll give you two things. So peppershock.com. Pepper Shock. Yes, my maiden name was Pepper Sack, but peppershock.com, that's where that came from. And then also, we have built a community called themarketingexpedition.com. And then the podcast, the Marketing Expedition podcast, it's free to listen to the podcast. And by the way, it's top 5 most popular podcast globally now, one of the most popular podcasts, I guess is what it's said by Listen Notes. So lots of people listening, which I'm very grateful for. But lots of good nuggets, lots of good people on the show. So yeah, go check us out there, themarketingexpedition.com or peppershock.com, and we're here to help.
Awesome. Thank you for being here today. This has been super helpful.
Thank you.